This is Monsters and Money in the Morning.
We've talked a great deal on this show about the housing crisis, and rightly so. And now it's affecting Chicago and has been for a while. Now we want to talk with the guy who knows everything there is to know about the housing market here in Chicago. Right, Ed? Ed Jacob, the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, joins us. Good morning, Ed, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What do you do? First of all, let's just establish in 30 seconds exactly what the agency does.
Right. Neighborhood Housing Services has been around for 35 years. Nonprofit organization. Work to create opportunities for people to live in affordable homes, improve their lives, and really strengthen the neighborhoods in the city of Chicago and also in Elgin.
You've had a lot of support from the banks over the years. I've been involved with NHS for a lot of those years. I think of Tom Gobby at the Old Tallman, who brought the banks in to support an effort by an agency to get home ownership going. So now you have neighborhoods like Roseland and Back of the Yards and West Humboldt, and all these neighborhoods you have sparked on the idea that fix a few houses and everybody will get proud of it. But we're seeing the reverse now. What's going on in those neighborhoods?
It's been the most challenging time. I've worked in community development for 30 years here in Chicago, and it's the most challenging time that I've seen in the last couple of years. We've had setbacks in some of our neighborhoods with the foreclosure crisis, and it really has been a difficult time for us, where we really saw gains in those neighborhoods, improving neighborhoods, home ownership improving, commercial strips improving, with good retailers locating in these neighborhoods. It's been a very tough environment the last couple of years. What we've really turned our attention to in the last couple of years has really been assisting people who are facing foreclosure.
I know. I did a story on that last year, and you're actually taking people and working with them at the banks to modify?
Exactly. There's been a lot of, and you probably talked on the show about the loan modification efforts, and for a certain segment of people, they have worked pretty well. They actually have gotten them into more affordable loans. There's really been two kinds of trends with the mortgage struggles that we face. The first was poorly written loans. People in adjustable rate loans, people underwater properties, loans that probably should not have been given. What we're seeing now, though, is kind of a change in the people that we're seeing at NHS who are struggling with their mortgages. Now it is really driven by the economy. So initially, some of those people were in on affordable loans. Now it is people with job loss.
Yeah. Ed, you know, Mrs. Bearport walked into our bank 2 years ago with me, and we wanted to look into getting a loan for the first time. And, you know, fantastic credit scores, we had good income, and this is one of the biggest banks in the world. And they said that they had no business and had no part in wanting to lend us any money, even if we did come to the table with 10 or 15% down. I mean, I'm hoping that the lending standards have gotten better in that time.
Lending standards in the last couple of years have certainly tightened. And so people who would have gotten home mortgage loans 3 or 4 years ago easily are now struggling to get those loans, and that's one of the gaps that we can fill at NHS with some of our loan products. We also will work with banks where sometimes they will do a first mortgage at 80% of the value of the home. We will come in and do a second mortgage behind that. It gives the bank more comfort that they've got security with their loan, and then we fill the gap to kind of push that market along. But certainly credit standards have tightened in the last couple of years, not only on the mortgage side, also commercial real estate and other lending.
Exactly. Now, you have a fund, NHS, is able to actually make loans. Where does that money come from, and when do you use it?
So we have support from over 20 banks here in the Chicago area. A couple of years ago, we raised about $110 million in a loan pool that is capitalized by both national banks and local community banks that we have here in Chicago. And then we're able to take those and stretch a little bit, maybe to do a little bit more, and also more intensive counseling with people. So maybe somebody who hasn't owned a home before, we're able to sit down with them and talk about some of the realities of home ownership. It's not just the mortgage payment.
Are those people still showing up, Ed? Are those people showing up? I mean, we talk about people not wanting to buy homes. Are people still coming in wanting to buy a home? And have your lending standards tightened up at all?
Our lending standards have tightened up. Yeah. They've had to tighten up. There are still people interested in owning homes, but I think we've seen a couple things happen in the housing market. First of all, underwriting standards have tightened, certainly, and that's occurred. The other thing is that just in general, people's credit scores have dropped. Credit scores are down across the board because of struggling to pay credit card debt, auto loans, things like that, their own mortgage loans. So we've seen that. And then the third thing, which is an important thing, and I'm not a behavioral economics person, but confidence is down. People don't have the confidence that purchasing a home is the way to build wealth. That was it for a generation. That's how our parents built wealth, was by owning a home and paying the mortgage down. And now there's some questions about that in the marketplace.
One last little bit. You have homes in your neighborhoods that have already been foreclosed. You couldn't save the people. What are you doing now to get those homes occupied again?
Yeah, working to renovate those homes. And quite honestly, if we can sell those homes, that's our preference. If not, on a short-term basis, a rental strategy. Make sure the home is occupied. A vacant home, a boarded-up home, causes all kinds of problems for the block. People drive down the block, they're frustrated. There's issues of crime, there's issues of break-ins, things like that. So certainly a rental situation is better than a vacant home.
You know, it is great to have you on the air. NHS is a terrific organization working all across the city. We're going to put up the website because you have offices, counseling offices all around the city.
8 offices and a central office, correct?
Okay,
yes.
NHSchicago.org, and we'll put a link, NHSchicago.org. Find out, they have classes, you can walk in and get counseling, you can get help with a modification. They actually, I've seen them take you to the bank and see if you can't get out of this. Thanks very much.
Ed, thanks for coming in.
You
Really appreciate it. And good luck with that effort, too.